Hey guys, this is Ozark Family Homestead. This is Sarah. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make watermelon rind pickles. I've been doing this recipe. This is my second year doing it, and our family loves them, and they're unique, and not many people actually know like what they are or how they're made or how they taste. So I'm going to take you along and let you see the process of water bath canning watermelon rind pickles. It's so simple and so easy. I pretty much had the recipe almost totally memorized with our homegrown watermelon. So I hope you will enjoy this, and let's get started. Okay, so the first step you're going to want to do when you're making your watermelon rind pickles is to find a good watermelon. So no bad spots, a good hardy rind. Wash it off, make sure there's no dirt or like hay or stuff stuck to it. You could add to that and have for your watermelon a more of a natural watermelon, so like more of a homegrown one. I only personally use our homegrown watermelons because I know what's come in contact with the rind. I know it's not been sprayed, if anything, if that's important to you. I just know what it's come in contact with. You could use a store watermelon, that would be fine. There's plenty of rind on it, and you might get even more rind than what you would off of a homegrown watermelon. But if you wanted to like support your local farmers or homesteaders, you could go to your local farmers market or a produce stand, and you could source a watermelon there that probably hadn't been sprayed by anything or just wouldn't have had anything on it. Personally, I just like to use ones that come from our homestead. So you don't have to do that. So I'm going to take you up over here, and I'm going to kind of show you how I'm cutting my rind and processing it so that you can kind of do that with yours. Okay, so I've got my rind here. It's not been chewed or gnawed on, so I didn't hand anybody a slice of watermelon and say, here, eat. I just went and I cut it, leaving a good amount of pink on there. It can give or take a little bit. You can be pretty pink or you can be pretty white. It doesn't really matter. And then I'm still in the process of doing it. I still got watermelon here to cut off. But if you leave your pink on there, it will show up in your watermelon rind pickles afterward, and you will have this beautiful color on there. It's just phenomenal. And you don't really want to hand it to somebody because then they're going to eat on it, and then you've got to cut more off because of course you don't want to you don't want to can anything that someone's been eating on. That's probably not that sanitary. So I just go ahead and cube all the watermelon that I get from the homegrown watermelons so that I can use the rind. So what I'm doing is I'm just cutting just this whole part out, and I'm leaving a good amount of pink so that it stays pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the camera, finish cutting up these, and then I'll show you the next step on how to process your rind. So what I'm doing is just going along the rind. It's focusing on that. So what I'm doing is just going along the rind, just cutting about halfway, then turning and cutting some more. Don't want to cut yourself, of course, and leaving a good amount of pink on there. Setting that to the side. And I'm just leaving the seeds in here because my family doesn't mind picking out seeds. That's just fine with them. So I'm just gonna go through and cut everything like that and just go ahead and get the flesh. So like, see, that one has less pink on it, but that's just fine. No one's gonna complain. One thing I will point out, so the little tail here, you can go ahead and just get the grind on there. Go ahead and cut that off because you're not going to can that. Go ahead and just clear the space of seeds, and then I'll show you how to peel your watermelon. In case you're wondering, you're actually being propped up on a basket of jalapenos because I'm trying to get the perfect angle. Let me see. I think that's good. Okay, watch you shift and fall over halfway through this. So what I do, so you can either leave it as the half circle, little smiley face, or you can go ahead and like cut it. But I'm just going to show you the half circle first. So you're just going to take a regular old carrot peeler, potato peeler, just anything to peel with. You could use a knife, but using a knife does use more of the rind, so you'd waste a lot more. So you just come along and you're trying to get all of this hard green stuff off. Now this is extremely slippery, so like you really want to watch your fingers. You don't want to get that cut. So what we're doing, you can see there, getting all this off, and we're going for just this white here. The white will be green tinted. If you get down to the pure white, you're wasting a lot. All you have to do is get that hard green stuff off. So it will take a little bit, not a whole lot though. And when you get started, it's really easy. You just go through and just zip that right off. Just watch your fingers. Sometimes it's easier to cut it if your watermelon has like a really weird bend to it, and it's harder for your tool to get over the curve. But this one seems to be doing pretty good, so you just want to get all that hard off, and there. That's how you want it to look. So you still got pink on it, and you got all that hard grain stuff off. And this stuff you can put, you're not gonna use this stuff, so you can give it to your chickens or throw it in your compost pile, or like if you don't have those, it's fine just to throw these away. You're not gonna use these. So I'm putting those in for my chickens, and then I'll go ahead and get everything else peeled up just like this, and then I'll show you the next step, how we cut them. Okay, so I realized I didn't show you how to peel it after it's cut, if that would work better in your case. So what I do, so I've got my semicircle, and it's still got all the green on it, as opposed to if it didn't. So what I do is I take this and just cut it in half. Just like that. And then you can take this and get about 2 to 3, oops. It's like I said, they're very slippery, so be careful as you're cutting. You can get about 2 to 3 out of this, so I'm just gonna, I think I can get about 3. It is harder to cut with the green rind on there, but if you've got a very weird curve on your watermelon, Okay, so you kind of want to get them about that thickness. And then you could just take it and just get it all in one. You can do that if you prefer. I just don't like cutting through the rind, so I don't really tend to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these finished up and then kind of show you how I cut everything. So you can, for the most part, get it all in one. There's that pink coming off there. Okay, so start off with your peeled semicircle. Depending on size, cut it in half or thirds. And then, so it's about, I don't know, 2/3 my finger long. So it's like not incredibly wide, and it's about that long. So it's not a huge piece. And you can cut this if you want more thicker pieces. You can just do them in half, kind of like that. They don't have to be perfect. Or if you wanted thinner pieces, you could do thirds and do like that. It just depends. Ultimately, whether thick or thin, it's just in how you boil them in another stage that really determines if they get soft or not. They don't really get soft. They are more of a crisp pickle. If you've got a fatter piece, do those in thirds. Thinner piece, do that in half. That's kind of all I really got. It's really simple to get them to the right size. If you want small, little baby pieces, you can even, here, sacrifice one for you. You can even do little babies. Little baby pickles. Or if you want some big pickles. They will break some as you put them in the jar, so they will get smaller. So always keep that in mind so you don't end up with like little pebbles. You don't really want those. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these all similar in thickness. You probably don't want to do a big variety because you want them all really close so that they get done around the same time and you don't have some that are just sitting in there. So like I had a little triangle here and I just cut it pretty close. So this is going to be a little baby piece and those are going to be smaller pieces, but as long as they're all around the same thickness. So as long as they all end up around that same, you're good. And none of that probably made sense. And I'm sorry if it didn't. But too bad. So we have all of our watermelon rind cut up and all in equal thicknesses, and size is a little different, but the thickness is all the same. So if you look here, they're all pretty similar, which is what we want. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put them all in a bowl here and fill it up with cold water. And then I'm going to put salt in it. I'll let you see that and I'll explain why I do that. So we're gonna go ahead and get all of our watermelon rind and get it in a bowl. I just want to focus on the rim. It makes everything else fuzzy. I don't like it when it does that. So I have, actually this is about a half batch worth of watermelon rind pickles. It was a smaller watermelon and it started cracking in the garden, so I went ahead and brought it in even though it could have gotten a bit bigger. I just didn't want to waste it because it was probably going to be our last watermelon of the season. I have one more out there, but it's still super small, so I don't know if I'll be able to actually harvest it and have it be good before we get a frost. It looks like winter's trying to come upon us pretty quickly. That's a seed, you don't want those in there. And I just didn't want to take any chances. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up with water, and then, oh, I have a visitor.
Hey guys, I've been working out in the summer kitchen.
And they've been tolerating me.
You have everything under control in here.
I think so.
You think so? Okay. Good deal, Sarah.
So I'm gonna fill this up with cool water, and then bring you guys back when I throw salt on it. In it. You're better at this than I am.
You're cute, Sarah.
I hope I am. So I've got cold water in here with my watermelon rind. I've got enough that I can submerge them in there. So now I'm going to sprinkle about a cup of salt. Actually, you do very salty water to keep them nice and crisp. You go ahead and you sprinkle that all on the top. You could also throw your salt on your watermelon rind before you put the water in and pour the water over it. Either way is fine. So you have the salt in here to keep these nice and crisp. Kind of mix them in there a little bit. Oh, and please make sure your hands are clean while you're doing this, because you're going to be canning it and you need everything to stay nice and clean and sanitary. Figured you probably already know that, but just making sure you guys know when I'm sticking my hands in here, my hands are clean. Just in case anyone was wondering. So just kind of mix the salt in there, and then take a plate, nice and clean, and just put it in there so that you know that your watermelon rind is covered with the water, so that you don't have them getting dry, and it just keeps everything submerged in the saltiness so that they stay nice and crisp. I'm going to put this in the fridge overnight, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so I've had the watermelon rind in the saltwater brine for overnight. So it's soaked in there and ought to retain that crispiness at this point. So right now, our next step, we're going to rinse it and get all that salty taste out of the watermelon rind before we proceed to the next step. So I'm just going to take it and just pour it into a colander. Get all that salt. And then with cold water, we're going to rinse and just try to rinse all that salt off of it. That'll be pretty good. So now, hey dude, would you mind handing me the pot behind you? That one, the empty one. Yes. We're just gonna pour them in a pot to go on the stove. I'm gonna just set this aside, you're gonna need this later. Now we're just gonna cover our watermelon rind with water, and then we're going to let it boil until they are tender enough where you can pierce them with a fork. There. Got them covered. Just gonna put a lid on this and let it get boiling.
Mama gets to be your camera woman. Okay, tell us what you're doing next.
So, as you can see, it's at a full rolling boil. And they look pretty different at this point. So the color is kind of dulled slightly, and I can very easily pierce them with a fork. And some of them are starting to turn a little transparent. This is when you want to get them out of the hot water go ahead and drain them, and then you start making your syrup. So I'm just gonna turn this off. I've got my stuff all set up over here. I'm gonna drain this. Take this, because you can just reuse this right back for your syrup. You don't have extra things messy.
That makes me happy. Fewer dishes to wash.
And the colander you drained the salt water out of, you can set it so that's out of the sink and you don't have any little 3-year-olds just throwing stuff in the sink, and then you got cups on top of your...
That never would happen. You make things up.
But you can go ahead and just set it in there. It's out of the way, and as you can see, the color has drastically changed if the steam hasn't. So that's what you're looking for after the boil. Now, in my pot, I'm gonna add 3 cups of sugar. I'm actually doing a half batch of the Simmering watermelon rind pickle recipe from the Complete Book of Home Preserving, which is in our Amazon store.
Yes, it is in the store, and when I post the video, Sarah, I'll make sure to put a link in the description box. And probably in the comments. We'll put links.
So I'm doing a half batch. So that's 3 cups of just regular white sugar. Put that in your pot. 2 cups of white vinegar. The pot is hot.
Sizzle, sizzle.
And then 3 cinnamon sticks. So we're gonna go ahead and just throw those in there.
And whenever a jar gets finished up here, I have little girls that suck on the cinnamon sticks.
They love those cinnamon sticks. So I'm gonna get this up to about medium heat, and I want my sugar in here to dissolve in the vinegar until it's just one syrup. And I want to have my cinnamon sticks infuse in the liquid, so it's gonna be like a light golden color by the time it does that. So I'm going to give this a stir. Occasionally stir it since it has the sugar in there and you don't want it to like scorch and stuff on the bottom. That wouldn't be good. So I'm just gonna let this dissolve, and I'll bring you back when it has dissolved and the cinnamon sticks are starting to infuse.
And we're back.
So I've got this at a good hard boil. And I don't know if you guys can see or not, but instead of being a clear liquid, it's kind of got a golden, slightly light, I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but the color has changed from the cinnamon flavoring being pulled out in the boiling process. I do want to mention, so there's a steam here. This is steam from the vinegar. Do not try to breathe that in too much. Breathing in vinegar steam is not good on your lungs. You might feel like you're having a little bit of trouble breathing. It won't do any permanent damage unless you're breathing it in a lot. So just a note, try not to breathe that in too much. So I'm at the stage now, I'm gonna go ahead and add my watermelon rind. It definitely looks like a lot less when it's all limp and sad. But I'm just gonna add that in our syrup.
But it's gonna be oh so tasty.
So I'm gonna let these continue at the boil until they're mostly transparent. Now not transparent like plastic wrap transparent, but I'll let you see what I mean when they get to that stage. They'll turn golden and they'll just look so rich other than this sad, bland like here.
Sarah's food has feelings.
It does. So I'm gonna let those go. And they're just gonna simmer here in my syrup until they get all infused and taste phenomenal. Okay, so the pickles have gone on a hard boil and they are now what you would consider transparent for watermelon rind. Do you
That's
see
the
how
color.
good that looks?
They do. They're a lot more vivid of a color.
Mm-hmm. So they have boiled in this for a bit and then we're ready to put them in our jars. So I have pint jars in my water bath canner. And I probably should have gotten them simmering a little sooner. So they're not as quite as warm as I would like them, but they're warm enough where I'm not gonna have anything explode or anything.
You want to avoid things exploding in Mama's kitchen.
Yes. So I'm just gonna go ahead.
Your jars are warm, but not piping hot.
Yes, so
okay.
like I can touch them where I probably wouldn't want to touch them before. If I had them as hot as I normally do.
Okay, let me spin around this way so I can see what you are doing.
So I'm just gonna load this with the pickles. As you can tell, my pickles are hotter than the jar is. That condensation building up. And having only made a half batch, I'm not gonna get as many pickles as I normally do. As in jars of pickles. I got to specify that. So as I do this, I kind of give it a bit of a shake to let them fall down in there and settle so I can pack more in there without having to shove stuff down. This helps me so that I don't like break the pickles themselves and then end up with just like little pickle bites instead of the actual pickles.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that and try to lay them down a little bit. I don't want to be shoving in there and breaking them.
Some people might like pickle chunks, but we like pickle spears.
Yes.
So if you like pickle chunks, you can get rougher with it.
So then I take my golden syrupy liquid. I just pour it in there. And I need to get to a 1/2 inch headspace. I'll just let that little pickle go in there. Let me see. I think I need to spoon a little bit out of this one.
Yeah, you're going to show them how you check the headspace.
So I've got little markings on here. So putting it here would make 1/4. Here 1/2, 3/4, and 1 inch.
Yeah, and it has those numbers marked on the thing.
So right now I'm actually at about 1/4. So I need to remove about 1/4 of this. So I'm going to get a little spoon.
Okay.
And I'll just scoop a little out of there.
And all this information is in that book that Sarah showed you as well.
Yes. Really good book for canners.
Because different canned products require different headspace.
And that's good. So now that I've got it in here, I kind of take this and I go right along the edge. So I'm not breaking anything, but I'm trying to get air bubbles out.
Oh, see, I could see an air bubble go. So look at those big ones.
I just kind of wiggle it a bit because I don't want to stick it down the middle because then I break stuff.
And we like the pickle spears.
But doing this, I move it around and those air bubbles come right up to the top.
You can see them on camera. I'm going up. So this little tool does double duty.
Yes.
It checks the headspace on one end and it gets rid of the air bubbles on the other end.
Let's see if I can fit one more pickle in there. I'm that kind of person. Come on, little guy. Measure it again. I'm right there. Okay. So I'm going to call that good. Okay. I have put a bit of vinegar on this rag, and I'm just going to go along my rim, and I'm going to clean that off so that when I put my lids on,
yeah, because there might be some sugary, vinegary syrup.
And I want this to seal. So I can take this, and oh, it's much hotter with the syrup in there.
Fingertip tight?
Yes. So you don't want to sit there and go crazy on it. And there's how they look. So I'm just going to repeat that till I get all my jars in the canner. And then I'll let you see them all in there.
And they look really pretty on the shelf, that pretty peachy color. Have you told them, Sarah, what it tastes like when they're all done?
No, I actually haven't yet.
You haven't?
Surprisingly, do you want to say it?
They taste like a peach pie, which is very strange. Watermelon rind, and the vinegar and the sugar combination give it a peach pie kind of flavor. And then, of course, the coloring, by the time they get in there, you know, they kind of have a peachy look to them too. So, I don't know. It's one of those things where you anticipate what it's going to taste like, and then you take the first bite and it catches you off guard and surprises you because it doesn't taste watermelon rind pickles. I wasn't expecting peach pie. So, okay, you're just going to repeat until you have everything gone, right?
Yes, and then I'll take you back when we've got them all in the canner, and we crank it up and get it going.
What is next, Sarah?
So, being only a little measly half batch, I have 3 poor little pints in here. I've just got those 2 holding this up. So I've got
a wee little batch. Look how cute it is, Sarah.
They're so tiny. So the water is starting to get nice and hot now. I'm gonna pour vinegar in a little dash of it into the water for the mineral buildup. When water gets hot, is it especially well water?
I think so. I know ours, we get the white calcium minerals, we get that kind of buildup, and it gets on the jars.
Yes, and then you gotta scrub them all down with vinegar to get that off, and it's kind of a pain. But if you pour vinegar in your water beforehand, you don't get that. So I'm gonna put a glug of it in there.
A glug. Glug, glug. There you go. And I do want to point out, make sure you put the vinegar in the pot after your jars are filled and sealed up.
In this case, it probably wouldn't have mattered since there's vinegar already in there. But if you're doing like a jam or a jelly, no one wants blackberry jam with vinegar taste in it. That would not be pleasant.
And we've made that mistake before. We have jumped the gun and we have glugged the vinegar in here when we just had the empty jars simmering. And then then you got to get the jars out, rinse them out.
Yeah.
You know, do all the stuff.
Redo everything.
Yeah. So put your glugs in after the jars are already sealed up and in the canner.
I'm just going to put a little there, and I'm going to let this get to a boil. And when it gets to a boil, I'll bring you back. Okay, so we're at a good boil.
Oh yeah, look at it go.
So I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. And after the 10 minutes are up and it's still continued on that good boil, I'm going to turn everything off. And I'll let you see what we do after that.
And we're back.
So my timer has gone off, and now I just need to turn off, where is it? Yes, turn off my stove and remove my lid. So I'm just going to set it over here, and no one's going to touch it. And I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes. I'm just going to let it sit and cool and shut on down. And then we'll pull the jars out and you can see what they look like.
All right. Sarah, did your timer go off?
Yes. So now we're ready to pull out our jars. Now don't tip them. Leave the water on there. But look at that.
We made that mistake at first too. We tipped it when we
I
first
just heard
started
one
doing
pop.
canning. It's a pleasing sound hearing that pop.
Yes.
That makes me happy too.
So we're just going to pull out our poor little 3 jars. Look how beautiful they are.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And just set them out of the way. You do not want to disturb them for about 18 to 24 hours.
Yeah, so choose your spot carefully when you are taking them out of the canner and putting them down on a towel or a hot pad or something. Oh, that was another pop.
Yep.
Just set them somewhere where they're not going to be in your way until they're ready to go ahead and be put away. So this is the spot we typically set stuff.
Yep.
Kind of towards the corner. Then we won't bother them.
Yes. So about over 24 hours have passed, and these jars are now ready to go into the root cellar. I have taken the bands off and checked them by gently lifting them up by the lid. And if the lid does not come off, that's a sign that it has sealed. And by pressing in the center of the lid, if nothing goes down, that's also a sign that it's sealed. So if both of those show me that they're sealed, I'm ready to put them in the root cellar. So I went ahead and I marked what they are and the date. You want to make sure you do that. It would be a little hard for me to confuse these with some other things, but always just make sure you have that. So Watermelon Rind Pickles 2024. Got them marked. And you guys want to come up close and see. Look how beautiful they turned out. That hint of pink and the gold and yellow turned out so pretty. So these are going to go in the root cellar until they are devoured. And I guess that's all. If you liked this video, please go ahead and like it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There'll be a link down in the description box to our Amazon store, which will have the ball canning book where I got this recipe from, and some other tools that I had used in the canning process. All those will be down in our Amazon storefront, which the link is will be in the description box. And I guess we'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching Ozark.